We must deal with the humans. They have completely overstepped themselves this time. We need to remind them that they live by our good graces. Screams one councilman. Nonsense. While the roaches known as humans are annoying, they are not the ones trying to claim our lands for themselves. For that reason, we must eradicate the orcs first. They have been our nemesis since time memorial. We must remind them why we were the ones who always came out on top. Another shouts. I say we march upon the dwarven fortress. They may have been helping with building this city and crafting techniques, but they probably think that they are untouchable now and could have us under their thumb. We should remind them what would happen if we decided against their demand. Another yells. The council, a bunch of old warmongers claiming to be sharing their wisdom, but all these old coots do is try to relive the glory days of when we would travel the lands and slaughter whatever we came across. But, oddly enough, the most powerful warlord in all recorded history, who was my predecessor, decided to plant our roots and even appointed me the new king after he stepped down. I don't know how it happened myself. All I did was burst into the throne room trying to get my ideas acknowledged by the king, only for him to appoint me as the next, to the disdain of the actual candidates. One tried to kill me then and they're saying it was a farce, only to have the king tear him in two. No one challenged the decision after that. It was also a surprise to have the king tell me to pick from the previous candidates to be the captain of my guard, to the surprise of everyone. We just waited there for a minute for him to say that it was just a jest, but all he does is tap his foot impatiently. I then quickly look over the candidates as try to quickly pick one before I am slaughtered next. The other three were glaring at me, whether it was to choose them or they wanted to kill me. Probably to choose them so they could kill me and become the king. However, the last one wasn't even looking at me. Not because he refused to acknowledge me, but the look was curiosity of what was going on, more than being slighted. I could tell since I could see the wheels turning. It was an easy choice, considering he was the only one not intent on killing me. Of course, the rest challenged the claim and Alphonse quickly showed them out. While he swore loyalty to protect the lands, I could tell he was swearing more towards King Human than I. But I didn't care then and I don't care now. The king made me the king against all tradition, and I will not squander this opportunity. Yet, until I prove myself to the other lizard folk, no way will they follow any of the policies I put forward. And there is only one way to do that. Your lordship. Make a blasted decision. Someone yells. As I snap back into it, another grumbles, indecisive, weak, and squeamish. An utter disgrace. I let it go as I re-examine the options in front of me. All of these old bats want to wage war on the others. I would be lying if the prospect of even killing someone makes me recoil. But I do need to appease them, and one claim is easily more immediate than the others. I cough as I state, we shall deal with the orcs that impede on our lands. When the garrison return, we will let them rest and... Before I could utter another word, the room explodes with sneers and disbelief. Rest. Your Majesty. They are warriors. They need no rest. You must not delay, since who knows what they will do in the meantime. Do you not hear yourselves? I spit back. They are warriors, but even they must recover. And if our intel was correct, we will likely need to recover our forces and... You may be king, but I will not sit here and listen to you insult our warriors. They can easily handle a few orcs. If our previous lord was still on that throne, he would. A councilman starts to say. The previous king would agree with the current king's sentiment. An aged and powerful voice says. The entire room freezes as the clinking of metal against the stone floor get closer. It's King Kinkeuman. While he is not nearly as intimidating as he once was, but his presence still fills the room. His armor has changed, but it's still as impressive as it is simple. He may be hunched over in his incredibly old age, but everyone here knows that he could slay everyone in this room with his walking cane, which is just a sheathed great sword, and even then he refers to it as a toothpick. But Your Highness. A councilman tries to argue. He just slams the sheath tip to the floor as he answers annoyingly, why do you look at me when you call upon your king? The offending councilman bites his tongue in shock and sits back down. King Kiuman looks around and asks, "Now, is the plan that the king proposed, that I support, have any further objections?" There is one groan. "Please state your concern." King Kiuman states, "None of this makes sense. Are we listening to someone who has clearly lost his edge centuries ago? He has placed a puppet on the throne and expects us mighty warriors to lick this upstart's feet. As you are king no longer, as you keep stating, I challenge you." A councilman gets up and jumps over the table towards King Kiuman. Before I can turn around, we all hear a clang on the ground as we confirm the result that has been, and always be, as the councilman was cut down the middle. As the sword rests against the ground, King Kiuman pounds his back as he complains, "I must be getting old, normally they would be dead by the time the challenge leaves their mouth." After popping his back up, he states, "Anyone else?" Only silence fills the air. "Your Highness. I suggest someone come and take this corpse away and to clear the council room now that we have our next plan." Agreed. I will call some guards for the body. As for this meeting, I must say that you mighty warriors must need some rest after today's events. I comment. I get a couple of jeers, but the council leave the room. As soon as the last one leaves, King Kiuman tells me, "You need to lead this war party. I can't keep coming to your rescue every time this happens." "I know, but I'm not strong like you." I answer him as I hop out of my chair. "For starters, young king, when a dissenter openly insults you, call them out on it. Threaten them with your power since they believe they can get away with it." King Kiuman suggests. "What power?" "The only power I have is yours." I respond. "That is why you must lead the charge against the orcs invading our land. There is a reason they have been our rivals for centuries." King Kiuman rebuttals. "The reason being is that they share a berserk state as our species does and, even though they don't live as long as we do, they are far more numerous." I respond. "Yet, we moved forward while they stayed the same." King Kiuman responds. I sigh as I look over the table, thinking about my options. And no matter the math I do in my head, King Kiuman says the terror that has been coming to the forefront over and over again. "If you don't do this, you will just be waiting for a revolt of a weak king." I let out a sigh. I know. It really is my only option. Before anything else, a guard comes down and say, "Your Highness. Not only have I come to take care of the corpse, but I come bearing a report. The raid against the fort the humans took over has come back. Captain Alphonse is awaiting you in the throne room for the debrief." "Excellent work, soldier. Thank you for doing this task." I tell him as I walk past. "My pleasure, my king. And thank you for telling the council off." The guard mentions. I look at him as he proceeds to grab the body. I can't quite tell if he was talking to me or King Kiuman. I shake my head as I proceed walking to the throne room. "The king has arrived," another guard announces. I proceed to the mini throne the council had made for me and sit in it, next to the large, more prominent throne. I look down and see Alphonse and a rather strange human, with another human next to them that has a rather strange animal with them. I look to Alphonse and state, "I am pleased to see you return, Alphonse. Please state your report." I state, "Sir. Slaying the brigands at the fortress went incredibly smoothly despite the surprise that awaited us there." Alphonse reports. "I am glad to hear, but what surprise are you talking about? Did they complete the mountain masher of the dwarfs? Wasn't that within the realm of expectations?" I question. "Yes, sir. But they managed to make 3 cannons." Alphonse reports. I sit up straight as I take in the information. 3 cannons. Then I take it the damage must be astronomical. I state. Alphonse shakes his head as he answers, "My liege, I appreciate the worry for our soldiers, but, thanks to this mercenary next to me, the cannons were of no concern." "These 2? I ask. "No, just the one with the large hat." Alphonse answers. "How?" In utter disbelief. "Believe it or not, sire, but he actually took all 3 shots, sparring our main force." Alphonse states. Like it was just a fact as believable as the air we breathe. I stare at the mercenary, trying to take in that a human would make that sacrifice for our soldiers. Beyond that, sire, the losses were minimal and most of our side came out the better. The enemy forces seemed to have completely relied on those cannons. Their abilities were far less than we predicted otherwise. They only managed to kill some of us with sheer numbers, but even that didn't last too long. Alphonse continues. Sounds like we owe the mercenary quite a bit. I state. That is an understatement, Your Majesty. The mercenary was instrumental to our victory and his apprentice was of some help as well. Due to their help, I found that I figured it was not within my abilities to reward them. Alphonse states. If his contribution is as grand as you state, you did well to bring him here. Tell me, Sir Mercenary, what is your request? I ask. Your Royal Highness, I would request an audience with the arena master. There is a grave matter that I must see to that I question him. The mercenary replies. Odd, he has the ear of a king and all he asks is the audience of another. Interesting. Your request is odd, but I am afraid to tell you that I cannot grant this request as it also requires the approval of the council. I answer. The mercenary is quiet for a moment before he states, You're the king. The statement is painful as it is simple. If even a foreign mercenary can see the issues I face, then perhaps it's worse than what I thought. But then a thought occurs to me. You are correct, but they have issued me a challenge to clear an orc encampment that has appeared on our lands. Lend me your services amongst the 500 others I plan to take with us and that should clear your path. I offer. Sire. That's crazy. The mercenary states. I know that the orcs can be intimidating, but I assure you that our numbers are more than sufficient. I reassure them. No, sire, I just mean that you could easily take the camp with only 100 soldiers. Especially with you at the front. The mercenary states. Everyone who just heard this claim is stunned speechless. My jaw also can't help but fall open at the bold statement that left the mercenary's mouth.